This video demonstrates the user dashboard of the MPStore Orkestra product. The user dashboard is used for virtual machine and storage management of all of the user's quota. I hope you enjoy it.
The first tab that we look at on the user dashboard is the image management. Image management allows us to select a server SOS operating system. So in this example, I'm going to launch Ubuntu server. When I launch the Ubuntu server, I can then choose a number of additional parameters. The first one is the compute group. So compute groups are ways of selecting which piece of infrastructure your server is going to run on. I can choose the number of servers to run, and I can choose the server size in terms of how much memory, CPU, core, etc. will be used for that server. I can also pick a key name. So a key is one level of security for when I boot my server, and also a security group. So the security groups are various firewall rules that I can use when I'm running my server. Once I've launched my server, I can view the servers that are currently running on my cloud. And for each server that I have running, I can access the system log, the console through ENC. I can edit some of the metadata about the server, such as a friendly name for the server. I can also do a server backup. A server backup will ask my server, take a backup image of my server and store it on the cloud image repository. I can then relaunch that server backup at some future point in time. Deleting a server will delete my server and free all of the memory and CPU resources associated with it. Stop is quite similar to server backup in that it will stop my server, but it will keep an image of my server so I can restart it again. And start is just to stop a stopped server. The next tab is the keys tab. So key pairs are SSH credentials which are injected into your image at launch time, and half of the key is kept in the cloud and the other half is downloaded to the user. So simply to create a new key pair is to give it a name, XYZ. If I create that key pair, I am then asked to store the other half of the key locally on my premises. The next tab is the volumes tab. The volume tab allows me to create a volume by giving it a size in gigabytes, a name and a description. But I can also select which group that I want my volume to be created in. So in this case, I can select an iSCSI group, or I can select a solid state disk group. And depending on what your cloud operator has configured, that could be iSCSI, solid state disk, fiber channel SAN, SAS. So this is allows the user to not only create a volume, but to create that volume within a storage group that's appropriate for his use case. Once the volume is created, I can then select that volume and attach it to whatever server that I wish to attach it to. Volume snapshots allow me to create a volume. Once I have the volume created, I can detach that volume and reattach it to another server, or indeed I can take a snapshot. A snapshot is a point-in-time copy of the data on that volume. I can manage my snapshots as well by going to the snapshot screen, and I can delete those snapshots. Those snapshots also will show up as volumes, and I can attach those volumes to my server instances. The next tab is the floating IPs tab. Floating IPs allow me to select a public IP from the pool of public IPs available in the cloud. I can then attach that public IP to a particular instance. Once I've done that, I can now access that server instance using that public IP. I can also disassociate. If I pick the server that I've associated with public IP, I can disassociate it. And I can finally release IPs that I may have previously allocated back into the pool. If I don't have any public IPs in my pool, I can use the allocate IP button to allocate a new public IP for my project.
The last group we want to consider is the security groups. Security groups allow us to specify rules, firewall rules, so that when the host machine accesses our virtual machine, that host machine has to obey certain firewall rules. So here we have a number of groups that have been configured. So all virtual machines, when they're launched, use by default the default security group. So if I edit that group, I can, for example, say that the protocol TCP, UDP, ping, etc. is available or used. I can activate particular ports, or I can even say that a host with a specified IP address can only access my virtual machine. So security groups are ways of creating different firewall rules for accessing our virtual machines.